Welcome to This Week Inside Sim Racing. I'm Sean Cole with my good buddy,
Darren Ganji.
And This Week Inside Sim Racing is sponsored by iRacing.com, where you can still get 3 months for the price of one by clicking on the banner at our website and following that deal.
Or you can join in on the special event that we got coming up that we've actually moved the date for, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that in the middle of the show here. But with the PR-Pastrana, for Travis Pastrana, with that promo, you get 3 months, the nationwide car, and I didn't know this, it's actually the nationwide car and the iRacing national car for $12.
So if you want to run our event, that is the better deal to take advantage of.
Absolutely. If you're a new member. So
there you go.
There you go.
So we do have some news from around the sim racing world today, and first thing up comes to us from Codemasters regarding F1 2012.
Another patch?
Another patch? Well, gosh, they're like patch
10.
9? 10. No, now the game is going to be on the Mac OS operating system. No longer just PC, PS3, and Xbox. Now we're talking
it's pretty cool.
Mac racing.
How powerful is a Mac processor?
I think they can get it done, but what can you use on a Mac?
I don't know. Do you have to use that boot camp? There's something called boot camp where you can boot a Mac into Windows, but I'm assuming, I don't know.
I think this is just going to run straight forward on that. I don't think you have to do anything extra, but I don't think you can get a wheel for, I mean, are you going to have peripherals available? I mean, to me, that's going to determine what level of game they're making for the Mac.
I can see iRacing go to the Mac. Actually, it is boot camp.
Yeah, that's the one for sure.
No official release date, but as soon as we hear more, we'll let you know here on the show, but pretty cool to hear that.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, up to patch 10, so they're putting a lot of work into 2012.
Supposedly the console racers are kind of PO'd right now because there's not been a patch yet. But here's the deal too, console racers. Patches need to go through Sony and Microsoft approval before they'll show up on the platform. So the reason why the PC guys are getting patches nonstop is because it's on the PC and it's wide open.
Steam will do anything you want them to do.
Yep. Next up on the show, something pretty cool that I was actually hoping to see would happen a little, maybe on the last WRC, but the guys at EC Sim Hardware have made a patch, or a physics patch, or physics upgrade, or a hardcore physics upgrade, I guess you could say, which basically takes WRC3 and adds some hardcore physics. So they've gone in and tweaked the physics engine. And the patch is available now, and it's in a 0.5 version, so it's not a final. They're still working on it, but you can grab it now at EC Sim Hardware. As a matter of fact, ecsimhardware.com. Click on software and then add-ons, and that'll take you to the link to download it. And we're showing you a video of what it looks like with that new physics engine. It definitely looks like, actually we're going to be trying it soon too because we're reviewing WRC3 right now, but interested to see how it, is it going to turn it more like Richard Burns Rally?
And that's what immediately comes to mind, everything and how much further development Richard Burns Rally got. So is this just the beginning of further development for this sim? And we mentioned earlier on Codemasters, is this really going to drive the PS3 and the Xbox guys nuts? Because this is for the PC only, right?
Yeah, well, speaking of which, on Xbox, I got some news. If you're looking for an Xbox version of WRC3 and you are not in a PAL territory, you can't get a version right now. They sent us some PAL versions that do not work with our systems, and I asked for an NTSC, which is our format for our region, and they don't have one available. They're working on coming out with one, but if you have an Xbox 360 and you want to play WRC3 and you are not in a PAL region, which is like Europe, UK, stuff like that, then you cannot play it. PS3 is a different story. PS3 is a different story. Region free on those discs is their Blu-rays, and then on the PC, same thing. You can download, a version and play away,
and even play a mod.
Yep.
And speaking of Richard Burns Rally or further development of the sim, the guys at RBR World actually have come out with RBR World 2012, and this is just sort of, it's like that RSRBR. It's like taking that sim in a whole new direction, adding features that they never had in the sim to begin with.
So this was a team of guys from Italy originally. There was like a rbr.it or something was the original website, but now you can go to rbr-world.com to check out these mods, and they've made graphical upgrades, changes to the gameplay, and the creation of online play.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like RBR World, so it's more like...
RSR, I mean?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
RSRBR. So it's like a
matchmaking time trialing, I think. But
Yeah.
it's live. It happens instantaneously. You're running at the same time,
but you don't
separately.
see the other cars.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Which makes sense because it's rally. I mean, you don't want to be running into other rally cars, which I guess is possible, but very rare.
Yeah.
And this is a real rally-heavy show, isn't it?
Yeah,
we got some more rally news. Forza Horizon is coming out with an expansion pack that's going to be rally related, and it's due out in December. And we've already driven a bunch of off-road in the game, and it seemed pretty good. So
Yeah, I think you and I were both surprised by the quality of the off-road feel. So I'm interested to see what they're going to add in that expansion. Is it just new mileage, more terrain, or is it going to actually feel any different? I'm not sure. More cars, perhaps?
possibly. The pack's going to be available mid-December and will be the second expansion to the game. That's including the October car pack that featured 6 cars. But we're looking at about 1 pack a month for the next 6 months to support Horizon. Car pack goes for 400 Microsoft points, and the expansion pack will be 1,600 Microsoft points. So, what if they're gonna have some rally stages, or?
It looks that way. I mean, I mean, this is all about rally. Everything in that pack is about rally.
Very cool.
And like you mentioned, once a month they're gonna have a new car pack, things like that. So once again, you're gonna see the season pass available.
4,000 MS points.
So kind of steep on the price there, but it gets you everything over the next 6 months.
I think that totals about 50 bucks.
Okay.
Is 4,000 Microsoft points. So now before we take a break, we want to remind you guys about the Inside Sim Racing at the Rock 200, powered by iRacing.com, that's coming up now. We've moved it. Originally was going to be November 10th, but we've moved it to December 1st just to give us a little more time, both with the track and to hopefully land some more sponsors. And speaking of which, you landed us another one for this race.
Yeah, this time Thrustmaster, they are going to put up another TH8 RS shifter, and I say another because the last race they put one up for that. So one lucky winner is going to walk away with an incredible H pattern or sequential shifter.
Yep, and we also have the Derek Spear Designs Track Boss button box, a GT Omega wheel stand, and a grandstand wheel stand. Some iRacing credits, some stickers, certificates.
Yeah, we're not done yet, though.
Nope.
We have time to add prizes. That's the other reason to back this off a little bit.
Yep, we got to come up with a cool name. I don't like the Inside Sim Racing 200 at the Rock. Help us come up with some winter-related name for this race, if you could. Post it either in the description of the show here or on our forum. But, you know, I like the Icebreaker, but that's already been taken.
Right, right.
The Snowfall 200, Snowstorm 200. We don't want to talk about storms right now, but
No, but our name is lacking on this one.
yeah, definitely. So that's going to do it for the first half of the show. Stay tuned for the second half. We have a Derek Spear design Velocity button box. Actually, he doesn't even want to refer to them as button boxes anymore because it's not really a box.
Well, box implies square or rectangular of some sort.
Yeah, and this is not box, so we're going to have that when we come back. And a Tamiya Sim Rig of the Week right after this.
Does a real race car have a center post? Of course not, and neither should your race rig. The R-Seat Evo V3 with its unique design has no center post. The R-Seat Evo replicates what you would be accustomed to in your daily driver or something you may take to the track. It can accommodate drivers from 4'11" up to over 6'6" tall and is pre-drilled for all of the major wheel manufacturers on the market today. When it comes to performance, look no further than the R-Seat Evo V3. Check out the R-Seat Evo and other sim racing equipment by heading to www.rseat.net.
Tamiya's extensive lineup of radio-controlled vehicles provides hobbyists with the joy of running exact replicas of their favorite car, tank, or off-road vehicle. Another attraction of these vehicles is their use of high-grade materials, such as nylon resin, carbon fiber, and polycarbonate. With precise mechanical systems, the maintenance and adjustment of the various components, as well as performance upgrading with optional parts, allows for truly competitive racing. For more information about Tamiya, visit us at www.tamiyausa.com.
Welcome back to This Week Inside Sim Racing, and first up on this half of the show we have the Sim Rig of the Week, sponsored by Tamiya USA, the makers of the finest models and radio-controlled vehicles in the world, TamiyaUSA.com. So Sean and I started talking about old school consoles, arcade consoles we're talking, like pole position, stuff like that. And actually I started doing some shopping locally because I want one for my new man cave here in Washington. But
and we're talking the egg-shaped pod-style ones that you climbed in. And I mean, this goes back to, you know, put the quarter in, coin op arcade days.
So, just so happened, like 2 of them popped up on our forums. And the first one comes to us from Chris C., who has built himself one heck of a console-style rig here.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of that arcade style. It's actually an MDF base that is obviously inspired by the Rikmatech design. But in Chris's case, he went the extra mile and really finished this one off. This includes side panels and a dashboard built into the rig. He's running a modified Logitech wheel with Club Sport pedals and a Thrustmaster shifter.
On the dash, he seems to have built himself a custom button box with each button labeled for easy memory. The rig is running triple screens, which really helps close in the cockpit. In addition, it looks like he picked himself up a nice junkyard seat, and to really top things off, has a shelf for his calculator.
Right there next to his wheel.
Calculator?
Yeah, like if you're like trying to do tire adjustments, I don't know. I think that's some serious crew chief stuff he's doing.
That's some serious sim nerd stuff right there.
I love it.
I do too. That's pretty awesome, man. What kind of, I want to know, Chris C., what kind of calculations are you doing with that calculator? That's pretty cool. So there's our first console enclosed style rig for, actually we have 2 sim rigs of the week, and our second one comes to us from Sigma Hyperion. And despite looking like a completely built rig, it is actually a sophisticated rig holder or platform like Sean and I run.
Yeah, but he enclosed his platform, so he went way beyond what we've done.
Kind of jealous.
I am jealous. And he painted it really nice and installed speakers and all sorts of cool stuff.
We got installed speakers.
Yeah,
you do now, finally.
No, his are installed. Ours are just kind of mounted. His are installed.
Yeah, mine are just mounted. I want installed speakers.
The backbone of the rig is actually a play seat mounted to a slider that is equipped with some Fanatic gear. In addition, it has a Yamaha sound system along with a butt kicker and a 42-inch LCD. The pod has diamond plate flooring and a carbon fiber wrap on the seat box. And I gotta tell you, this one looks like if you just put the right decals or stickers on the side, you would have an arcade racer.
That's pretty cool. So thanks to both you guys for submitting your rigs in our forums. And if you guys would like to submit your rigs in our forums and potentially be on the show, go to our website, InsideSimRacing.tv, go to the forum section, scroll down to Sim Rigs and Cockpits, and just post there. You got to be a member of our forum, so you got to join our forum to do that. But would love to see it. We would really love to see some video.
Yeah.
So if you can do pictures and video, you almost guarantee a spot on the show because we're going to steal that video off YouTube and then replay some of it.
Well,
so.
not only that, but then also we've got the Sim Rigs page. So if you go there, we've got Sim Rig of the Week, and you can see every single Sim Rig of the Week that we've covered on the show.
You sure about that?
You can see almost every Sim Rig of the Week that we've covered on the show.
We need to make it a little more current. We're a little bit behind since we moved, but yeah, we'll get that updated and get all the Sim Rigs on there. So next up, we've got this cool, can't even really call it a button box.
It's not a box.
How about we call it a...
Button egg.
No. A cool sim racing peripheral.
I like that. That's better than my marketing jargon there.
This is the Velocity R3, and Derek actually has 3 different designs. It's the R1, R3, and R5, and we have the R3 here.
And you can see all of the Velocity boxes are an unconventional shape. I mean...
You're not holding a box though.
I'm holding the shape of
We
the
should
box.
probably explain what this is. So...
This is very crisp, like Lexan plexiglass, black,
hard and we
material.
should explain why we have an extra one of those. So I originally got this, and luckily I'm the one that's in contact with Derek, so I get first dibs on most of the Derek Spear design stuff. So anyway, I took this and I had a shifter mount on a rig that I had at my house, and I wanted to drill into this so I could mount it on to that shifter mount. Well, this stuff is very brittle and not meant for drilling. There's already some pre-drilled holes on the back that you could use if you wanted to use them for attaching, but this is meant for Velcro or something like that, and that's how we've got it attached now. So Derek, being the nice guy that he is, not only sent me an extra plate because I broke the old one, and it's definitely not his design, it's because I'm too dumb to realize that you can't drill into acrylic like this. After I did it, Sean's like, well, dude, that stuff's really brittle. That's acrylic. And I'm like, oh. So anyway, learned my lesson there. Not only did he send us a replacement backing, but he sent me another Velocity R3. Well, actually, you could say he sent Sean another Velocity R3 because I'm keeping, well, I was going to keep this one, but I already gave it to Sean, so anyway.
And I have the piece to make mine right.
What's cool about the R3 is that this comes with rotary encoders. And this is the first button box, or can't really call it a button box, super cool sim racing peripheral that has rotary encoders that I've been able to use. And what I've really liked to use them for is my seat adjustments. So, I go left and the seat moves back. I go right and the seat moves forward.
Nice.
So it's cool for that, and up and down. And it's, instead of pushing buttons to do it, it just seems like it moves the seat nice and smoothly.
Right. I actually have my encoder ones working my brake bias. So it's my forward and backward switch on my brake bias.
I thought about that, but my only concern was that I might move it a little too much.
2 clicks instead of, and then you don't know, did you do 1 or 2 clicks?
Yeah, so I'm using my old, I still have my Race King button box. I'm using my toggles for that. Actually, I'm going to install both.
How many buttons do you need?
A lot. I want them all. I want buttons for everything. I don't want to touch a keyboard ever again. So that's, honestly, with this one alone, see, I had mine mounted like this. So I could use these 3, and I was using like an iRacing F1, F2, F3, and then I was using this for my to cycle my splits. And then I had obviously my encoders here, and then I came over to Sean, and Sean had his mounted this way. And I'm like, dude, you got yours upside down. And Sean's like, I don't think so. I think this is the way it's supposed to go. And I think he's right, because it actually gives you more, put your hand across it, and I love where he's got these placed and how they're, there's curvature to them as far as the placement goes, and it just really fits on your hand.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool box. And
let me, one thing for me, this reminds me of like a gamepad. If you've ever had like a gamepad for first-person shooters where you literally could just leave your hand on it and know. So we always talk about button boxes and the motor memory. Remembering where buttons are is so much easier than keys on a keyboard, And this one, I really can reach out and just put my hand where I want.
So the way we figured out which was up and down, I don't know if you guys can see it here. I'll try to, it's kind of, the gloss is all fingerprinted, but Derek's logo is right here, and it's facing this way. So this is up. I guess you can put it any way you want. I mean, if you want, you can put it sideways.
Yeah, you could.
Because the encoder's going to still work.
Yeah.
The way the encoder works is basically one direction is pushing one button, and then the other direction is pushing another button.
So it's the equivalent of 2 buttons, basically.
Yep. So, do you know how much it goes for?
I do know how much it goes for. This particular one, you mentioned there are 3 models. This one goes for $109.75. This is the R3 model. There is the R1 model, which instead of the encoders actually has 2-way switches. So it's still 2 buttons, but it's like a switch, not quite as complicated or fancy a switch. That one actually goes for $84.75. Then there's the R5, and this is sort of the big daddy. You get 5 encoders across the top. You get 3 2-way switches, and then all the other buttons that are still there. And that one goes for $119.75. And since they are all the same weight and shape, the shipping is going to be the same regardless, and that's $10.95 anywhere in the US and $17.95 international.
So what would you get?
I like the one we've got, but the R5, which is a little bit pricier, I like the idea of more options because I relate certain buttons to certain types of features or input.
Well, and then it also has those toggle switches I was mentioning. So for me, I could use those toggle switches for brake bias and stuff that I want a little clunkier, I guess you could say, adjustment because I want it to be slower versus you go 3 too much and your brake bias could be at the back and you're spinning into the next corner. So that's why I'd be a little, especially on the fly. Think about it if you're racing.
Yeah.
Good thing, I mean, the encoder, you can feel the notches as it turns, so, you're not going to you're probably not going to make that mistake, but
I'm gonna have to switch gears because I also have my other one for like increasing tire pressure. So now I'm like doing 2 clicks here. Yeah, I'd probably be better off with the toggles for both of those features.
Yep. So if you're interested in getting one of these cool Velocity sim racing peripherals, you can go to DerekSpearDesigns.com and make sure you tell them the guys at Inside Sim Racing sent you. And when you do, tell him how cool we think he is, because he is such a great guy, man. He has really hooked us up with some cool stuff. So,
you know what's cool about this? Just when you think, what else can they do to the button box? I mean, we've kind of seen every layout configuration. This is just completely out of nowhere. I mean, I love it. It's a great looking design. It's going to fit certain rigs better than others in terms of just aesthetically.
So why don't we give some pros and cons
for
this box and wrap it up with a rev scale. I'm just going to give it a 10, man. This thing's a 10. So forget the pros and cons. I mean, this is a perfect peripheral for me.
Perfect? You did drill the back and break it, which leads to me one of my few cons. I like Velcro. For me, it worked out great. It could be tricky to mount, though. You're definitely on your own for coming up on a mounting solution.
Yeah, maybe it's not perfect. Okay, I'll give it a 9.5. What other cons?
Okay, I have another little con, and this is so ticky-tack. This shows, see the USB? It's one of those AV plugs, I think they call them. That plug is like 2 inches before it'll curve. So that's just this ugly cord coming out. And this is such a cool looking peripheral. I think it kind of makes it look cheap, but
Sean's nitpicky on that. I
am.
give a crap. I mean, I think it looks fine. Actually, I think it's nice and flush, and I think, you know, you cut it, you know, it's cut around. I think it looks.
It's the cord.
Looks classy.
Yeah, all right, you're right.
You could get one of those plugs that has the
90.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm using one on my Race King, as a matter of fact, right now.
Okay.
So get yourself a 90-degree bend. By the way, it comes with a USB cable in the box. Comes nicely packaged, and came quick. I mean, he told me I was getting a surprise, and 2 days later, it showed up. And I'm in Washington, and I'm not sure where Derek is, but he's definitely not next door to me. So
what about pros? Pros.
Man, there's lots of pros. Great as far as ergonomics. The design as far as where the buttons go. I love having the encoders. That's another pro. Compact.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, one thing when we get into button boxes, we sort of start to take for granted some of the things we said in our early days of reviews. But again, it's so much easier to remember when you're using a button box compared to a keyboard. So I'm going to list that as a pro that all button boxes have as a plus right there.
Yep. Great customer service, like we just mentioned. If you have anything go wrong with it, Derek's going to give you personalized service. So, and I've heard nothing but great things about Derek's service across the board. So that's going for it. Nicely packaged.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's cool looking.
Acrylic or whatever. I mean, it's got a nice. I could never build a box this nice, no matter how hard I try.
You can get different colors too, can't you?
You get different button colors, but they all come black base. But he had blue, green, yellow, black, and red buttons.
Cool. So rev scale?
I was very close to giving this a 10. This is my favorite button box so far. I'll give it a 9 though, just because you still do have to figure out how to mount, and that's going to make it difficult for a few people out there.
I'd agree with you. I gave the Race King a 10. The Race King was easier to mount, had a little more, had some more buttons. Man, I love these rotary encoders though. Yeah. It's hard for me not to give this thing a 10. I got to tell you, I'll go to my final thoughts now. It's gotten to the point where I can't. For my racing rig, I can't go without these. This is a necessity for me now. I have to have a button box. I don't want to mess with the keyboard. It makes it so convenient versus, you know, the keys are so close together on a keyboard, and then having to find it and even use Braille to get around a keyboard is not easy. This just really makes it convenient. And again, I personally will not have my rig without a button box. As a matter of fact, I have 2 now. I have this one and my Race King, both going to be attached. So one of those things that has become a necessity for me.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, we've really made big leaps this year with triple screens, extra peripherals like dashboards, lights, things like this. And a button box in general is what really rounds out a rig and gets it so you don't really feel like you're playing a computer anymore with a keyboard and a mouse. And it gets you to where your controls are similar to what a race car driver does, using controls inside the cockpit. And that's what immersion is all about. That's what sim racing is all about for me. And you know, and that's true for any button box. This one, I just tremendously like the design. I like that it's outside of the box, so to speak, in design. And I think that's really clever. And like I said, the layout works great for me personally.
Me too. I agree with that. So if you're interested in getting one of these, go to DerekSpearDesigns.com. They go for just under $110, and there's 3 different versions, like I mentioned. Shipping is affordable anywhere in the world, so check it out if you're interested. Highly recommend it. That's pretty much going to wrap it up, except for our good buddy Tony Gardner sent us the release notes for the iRacing build. That's actually a little delayed. Normally that build will come out during week 13, but they had a little bug that was that had cropped up that was crashing the system or the title, so they needed to spend a little extra time getting that dialed in. The new season has started up.
Yeah.
Lots of cool things in the new build coming up. Lotus 79 is going to have the new tire model.
Right.
Looking forward to trying that. Spotter functionality has been enabled, so that's going to add some cool features to the sim. Actually, that's basically the beginning of the whole team functionality, which is bringing in a function that we can't wait for, and that's endurance driver swaps.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it sounds like that's part 1. What else?
What, you said something about 64-bit?
64-bit, yep, moving from 32 to 64-bit. Oran Park and Rockingham will become available with this build. And we're hoping any day now this build will be out. Actually, that's another reason why we moved back our race date, was because we wanted some more time with the new track.
Yeah.
What else? Lots of cool little functions that they've added in the sim.
And like you mentioned, with the new build comes the new season, so to speak. So we're looking.
What are you running?
And oh gosh, this season I'm gonna run.
Like we ever finish a season.
Yeah,
I finished one. I'm the only one that's finished a season.
Yeah, yeah.
I ran the street stocks and I
you did.
won Division 4 champion.
See what?
Like 2011 or whatever.
Yeah, but see what happens when you actually finish the season, not
I get to
start
brag.
them. Yeah.
I mean, it was only Division 4, but
I've been having a lot of fun with the Star Mazda lately. It's a series that I haven't run, but I've run a lot in that car. So this is the one that I think I'm gonna just try to pursue. Last season it was the Cadillac, and that car proved to be a little tough for me. So
it is tough. I don't know what I'm going to do. Just kind of bounce around. I think run the special event. Early next year, we got the 2.4 hours of Daytona, most likely. So going to probably focus on the special events. Actually, SSCA, league that I've been associated with for, actually that I formed back in 1995. They're starting an IndyCar series, so I might be running in that.
That's a road oval?
Road and oval, so you can catch that on our forums. Ted Severance has a section in our league section of our forums. So check that out. Speaking of our league section, our forums, TPS, they've always got cool stuff going on, so check them out.
It's that time of year. You know, winter comes along and you really start thinking about those indoor activities, and I think that's when sim racing starts to get real fun. People start to take their league racing pretty seriously.
Yep. So that's going to wrap things up for this week Inside Sim Racing. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Check us out at InsideSimRacing.tv. Like us on Facebook /Inside Sim Racing or Twitter /Inside Sim Racing. That's going to do it for Sean Cole. I'm Darren Ganji. We'll see you guys next time.
Your car has too much damage. We've got to fix it.